A couple things I'd like to circle back to first. Who didn't try their stout, their dark beer? A lot of people don't drink the dark beers because they say, I don't like dark beers, and I just want to remind everybody constantly that dark is not a flavor. So don't be afraid to try something just because it doesn't look like something you're used to. This particular one is a milk stout, so it's a little sweeter. Think of it more as maybe a dessert beer or with a nice dessert. So anyway, I just want to get back to that. The other two things I wanted to talk about that we saw earlier was the $16 higher check average. How great would that be if every customer coming in spent $16 more? I think that'd be phenomenal. It'd be great for the wait staff because they'd get higher tips, they'd get more there, and they would do a whole lot better. The other thing to point out, and this kind of ties back into that, is we saw 4.9% by volume is the share of craft beer. 7.6% was by dollars. So think of how much more money you're making by selling one pint of craft beer versus that pint of domestic. So those are a couple things that I feel strongly about. Now we're going to look at the top 10 reasons, and this is more not so much for the restaurant or the account to choose them, but this is why the customer chooses it. It tastes better. It's, you know, the smaller breweries, as we heard from all three of our friends before Peaks, they absolutely can focus more on quality. You know, and sometimes, and not their beers, but other small breweries will occasionally have beers that maybe aren't vary from batch to batch, and I'm talking about very tiny breweries, and part of that's the fun of it. You know, as long as it's not bad, it's a lot of fun. It can get boring when you know that everything's going to taste exactly the same every time, at least to me. But then again, I drink a lot of craft beer. There are hidden health benefits. You know, research suggests that craft beer is healthier for you than red wine. Things like vitamins, B-complex vitamins, antioxidants, soluble fiber, flavonoids, things that they've always said red wine brings in great quantities. In moderation, beer is at least as good as red wine, and some research shows better. More choices. I think we've just seen here, we've already got more choices than Bud, Miller, and Coors combined right here. And just as point of clarification, my parent company sells Miller and Coors, so just so you know what you're getting into here with me. But look at this, we've had 6 different flavors here. They were all different, they were all unique. And as Andy said, there's literally, you know, I think the Brewers Association now, or the BJCP, recognizes 78 different styles. So there's a ton of different styles out there. There's sub-styles, and there's all kinds of different things. And within a style, you can do different flavors. You know, if you talk to a winemaker, they'll tell you they love craft beer. That's what's sitting in their office at the end of the day. They're drinking craft beer because the flavors are exciting, the flavors are there. And most winemakers, if they're being honest, they'll tell you the brewers got the harder job, and they've got more variety, more flexibility with what they can do because of all the different ingredients they get to use.
It takes a lot of beer to make good wine.
That's right.
every vendor will tell you that.
Okay. Ultimately, for the consumer, craft beer is less money because they're going to come in, and if they're drinking that, what's called here water beer or domestic beer, they're probably pounding a lot of them, not really enjoying them, or conversely, maybe if they're saving money, they're not drinking as many of them. From the restaurant standpoint, that's what I find. If I go in to a restaurant and there's not a decent craft beer on, I won't drink. I won't order wine, I won't order spirits, I'll just drink water. So right off the bat, 3 beers I might have had if they had craft beer, and there's a lot of people like me out there, that's $15 that is not on my check because I didn't have anything to drink. More alcohol, if you look up back at the number 4, again, the beers are a little stronger, a little more flavorful. A lot of people drink it because they like to get, they like more alcohol in their beer because they know they're only going to have 1 or 2 when they're out, or maybe 3. But you know that, fewer calories, again, because they're getting more flavor out of single beers, they're going to consume ultimately fewer calories per drinking session. You can meet your brewmaster. I think I heard the 4 Peaks guys invite you all down to visit them at some point at the brewery.
Anytime.
That was the implication I heard anyway. And by all means go down there. That's probably the best looking brewery you'll see in Arizona right now. They do some exciting things. The old building's wonderful. One of the best places to sit and have a beer. You watch all the open brewery area, just the tanks just sitting there. They look spectacular. Again, tying back to number 4, less trips to the restroom. I mean, you can sit down and eat more. You know, good beer, good times. You know, again, Has anybody ever seen anybody tweet about the Great Miller Lite, or can I say Bud Light, please? Would anybody mind if I say Bud Light? That they had last night? No, but I guarantee you, if you go on Twitter, you will see a bunch of people, and that ties back into something else that's not up here, but you'll see a bunch of people tweeting about this phenomenal, you know, whether it was the Four Peaks pumpkin porter they had, it's on tap. And people look for it. People will tweet around for the first time. There was countless stuff on Facebook and Twitter about when pumpkin porter was going to hit the first time this year, and people were like racing to find out where it was going to be first. It was amazing. You don't get that with the domestic. So when you get that buzz, you get that excitement. You're getting people talking about it, and when you get people talking about your restaurant, it's a lot more exciting, I think, and better business too. And again, we saw before, supporting local business is a win-win. You're supporting local brewers. $73 comes back into the community. When you sell non-local products, only $41 stays in the community. So I think, to me, that's real important. So what can your local breweries and distributors do for you? Ted touched on some of it. Provide expertise. We are the consultants. We're the people that can talk to you about it. I sell a certain portfolio of craft beers. I do not sell Four Peaks beer. But if I'm in an account and I think Four Peaks is the beer that's going to sell for them, I'm not afraid to tell them that. If I've got 6 handles to work with and Four Peaks is the right beer, I'll say put Four Peaks on here, because I'd rather sell 3 of my beers and sell a lot more of all 6 of the beers they have on top than to have all 6 of the beers I have and sell nothing. It's in our best interest as business people and as business partners, as Ted said, to make sure that your restaurants are getting the best possible experience. And if that means that we exchange a short-term gain in terms of selling a keg here for a long-term gain in terms of you selling a lot more beer, again, it's in everybody's best interest. Beer dinners, food pairings, these are things we can help with. We come in and we look for different creative ways to pair food and beer and have some fun and do something that we're seeing a lot more of them. So now the challenge is looking for different ways, so it's not just the same old beer dinner every way. Right, there's 2 basic ways to do it. You can sit down and really pair out specific food to go with specific beer and the chef can create a menu. Or what I like to see especially is when the brewery or the restaurant takes their existing menu and pairs stuff with that, because now all of a sudden you're saying, you know what, it doesn't have to be a special meal to pair with beer. You can take anything on this menu and pair it with beer, and you can. There's the right beer on that menu for there's the right beer in our portfolio, or Ted's portfolio, or whatever's, for everything on the menu. Help choose tap locations to maximize profits. We talked about that earlier too. If you go into a lot of places that they'll have their best selling beers, which right now still a lot of those are domestics. They'll have them on that tap box maybe up front, or where you see it, position 1 as soon as you walk in the door. And I say, well, maybe that's okay, but if it's your best selling beer, chances are people are going to find it if it's down here. Get the craft beers, the ones you're making more money off of, put them in the first position. Let people see those beers, let them get intrigued by those beers. And then all of a sudden, they're trying something new, and if they want to go back to something they're used to, it's still down there for them. By the same token, they will, when it comes to package, we find, and I tried desperately to find the data on this, but I remember reading about a month ago that 63% of the craft beer drinkers prefer draft, whereas only 17 or 20% of domestic drinkers must have draft. So most of the domestic draft drinkers do not mind ordering a bottle. If it's what they like, if they're a Coors Light drinker, they're going to drink it on a bottle as quickly as a draft.
Yeah, they mostly prefer bottle nowadays.
Yeah, and they prefer bottle, but the craft drinker likes to look at the draft handles first. So it's kind of a nice thing for them there. Promotions, featured special events. There's a variety of ways to get creative. One thing I would make sure is when you're talking to folks, make sure they're doing something that's designed for you, that it's not just, okay, well, I'm running 20 of these promotions in the next 2 months, so we're going to do one at your place. I have them work with you to find what's going to work for you and for your customers. A couple other things that aren't up there, training, we talked about a little bit earlier. One of the things I do is I offer to come in and train the entire staff on beer. Not my beers, not just the beers I'm pouring, because it doesn't do you any good if you got to give me a half hour to come in and then give your Budweiser rep time to come in and give this rep time to come in. We're trying to do this as best as possible. Plus, and I know not everybody necessarily agrees that this title is necessary or anything, but as a Cicerone, I've got a little bit of background in that, and it's not something that means that just because I have a piece of paper or took a test, I'm better than anybody else. but it also means that I did the work and I've gone through the history and I've done what it takes to be confident enough to get that. I mean, I don't think any of you three have that title, but there's not one of them that couldn't take the test tomorrow and pass it. They just have more important things to do, like make great beer and sell it. So it's not always about the title, but it is about knowing that you've got the experience and you've got somebody that's supporting you that didn't just get pulled off the street and, you know, taught to sell craft beer. So whether they have that title or not is not as important as making sure they're be able to educate your staff about beer. And when I talk about beer, I will go through each and every beer they have on their menu. There's a couple of 50 tap restaurants that have opened up recently, and I did the training for that, and I treated every beer on that menu, including the Bud Light, the Coors Light, the Miller Light, just as if it was any other beer, and made sure they were all treated fairly. Because again, if your customers are selling more beer, chances are they're selling more of my beer too. And that's in everybody's best interest. So what is a Cicerone? All right, the organization was started several years back by a gentleman named Ray Daniels, who's the former president of the American Home Brewers Association. He's a well-qualified author on beer. He's written homebrew books. He's written other beer books. And what he wanted was there was people out there that were starting to call themselves beer sommeliers. And the term beer sommelier has no qualification behind it. There's no organization that says, you know, anybody here, no matter what their knowledge of beers, can call themselves a beer sommelier and market themselves that way. So he decided that there needed to be something that created that certification, that level of expertise that somebody could legitimately be a Cicerone. He didn't like the term sommelier. Cicerone means guide or docent. It's a Latin/Italian term. It's actually pronounced Cicerone in Italian, but Ray prefers the Americanized version, as do I. So certified beer server, a lot of restaurants are starting to look at certified beer servers. There's about 5,000 or 6,000 in the country right now. And it's maybe that person on staff that's a little bit more of an expert. It can help on site preparing, you know, putting those food and beer pairings together, helping that, maybe advising the bar manager on what to order, et cetera, that sort of thing. Certified Cicerone has a much more detailed knowledge of beer storage, service, sales, familiarity with styles, pairings, the whole bit. That's the level I'm at. There's about 275 of us right now in the country, including one of Four Peaks assistant brewers, by the way, just so you know that they do have the title as well as the expertise. And then Master Cicerone, right now there are 3 Master Cicerones in the country, so that's a really high level of expertise, and there'll be more of those coming soon. The Master Brewers Association of America also has their own set of standards, and they do it a little bit differently. In the Cicerone, you've got to go through the ranks. You start here, you go here, you go here. With them, you pick the right level that you need, and the Associate Beer Steward is designed for the servers, the bartenders, the retail clerks, or sommelier, and technically a sommelier is supposed to know about spirits and beer and all that stuff, but it's gotten to mean so much more about just wine. So maybe think of it as a refresher course for your sommelier, and they get the Associate Beer Steward certificate, and you know, now it's something that you can say we have this person on board that is you know, that has at least shown the effort to get a certification. Beer steward would be more designed for somebody like me, bar managers, owners, people that really want to, you know, expand their expertise or expand what they know about beer. The Master Brewers Association does not require the associate before you get the beer steward. They also insist, though, that you attend their class. So you have to go where their class is and sit and take the class. With Cicerone, it's self-study. You work on it, you learn it on your own, and then you take it from there. And then there's the Master Beer Steward, and that I suspect will be similar to the Master Cicerone. They don't even have the first test out for that yet. So that's a very new program, and it's there. And it's, you know, so we'll see how the NBA, the Cicerone's been around a little longer in terms of the programming than the Beer Steward, so I'm not sure, you know, if it's going to shake out to one industry standard or if it's going to continue to be a couple of things there.